Imagine a world where every word you read stays with you, where knowledge is not fleeting but becomes a part of who you are. Imagine the power you hold when your mind becomes a reservoir of wisdom, ready to guide you in every challenge, every decision, every dream you pursue. My friends, the journey to remembering everything you read is not a matter of talent, nor is it a trick reserved for a few. It is a matter of choice, of discipline, and of courage. Just as a river carves its path through stone, your mind, when trained and nourished, can retain, recall, and apply the knowledge you seek. Today, I want to share with you the principles that can transform your reading from mere words on a page into wisdom that lives within you, shaping your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your destiny. For in the pursuit of learning, in the act of remembering, we do more than store information. We cultivate freedom, we cultivate power, we cultivate ourselves. True knowledge is not merely acquired in moments of inspiration or fleeting curiosity. It is built, brick by brick, through discipline and consistency. To remember everything you read, you must first understand that your mind is like a garden. If you scatter seeds sporadically and carelessly, many will never grow. But if you tend to it daily, with patience and devotion, every seed has the potential to flourish. The act of reading is not enough on its own. You must approach it with purpose, making it a deliberate part of your life. Set aside time each day, even if brief, to immerse yourself in the words, the ideas, the lessons that books have to offer. Consistency, my friends, is the bridge between fleeting knowledge and lasting wisdom. Discipline does not mean reading without joy or curiosity. Rather, it is the commitment to return to the page again and again, even when the mind grows tired or life distracts you with countless demands. The most brilliant insights often come not in a single moment of revelation, but in the quiet, repeated engagement with a text, allowing ideas to settle into the deepest corners of your mind. Think of it as walking a long road. Each step may seem small, but step by step, mile by mile, you move toward mastery. Similarly, every page you read with attention and reflection strengthens your memory and sharpens your understanding. Consistency transforms reading into a rhythm, a habit that becomes almost a part of your very being. When you read daily, even briefly, your mind begins to recognize patterns, connections, and themes. Knowledge ceases to be random and scattered. It becomes a network, each piece linking to another, reinforcing your memory naturally. The act of repetition, far from being tedious, becomes a source of power, for it imprints ideas deeply, making them accessible whenever needed. And yet, discipline alone is not enough without intention. True retention comes from reading with the purpose of understanding, of internalizing, of making the knowledge your own. As you read, pause to reflect on what you have learned. Ask yourself how it applies to your life, how it connects to what you already know, and how it might guide your choices tomorrow. Each time you do this, you reinforce the memory, and the ideas cease to be mere words. They become part of you. Remember, the journey to mastering memory is not about speed or quantity. It is about devotion, patience, and unwavering commitment. Just as the river shapes the rocks over time, daily disciplined reading shapes the mind, leaving behind a reservoir of knowledge that will serve you for a lifetime. In this practice, you find not only the ability to remember, but also the wisdom to act, to grow, and to inspire others with the knowledge you hold. Through discipline and consistency, every book you read becomes a lasting companion on your journey of life. To truly remember what you read, you must do more than simply glance at the words on the page. Reading passively, without thought or reflection, is like walking through a beautiful garden blindfolded. You see nothing, you feel nothing, and the beauty passes you by unnoticed. Active engagement with the text transforms reading from a mechanical task into a dynamic conversation between your mind and the ideas before you. It is in this conversation that memory is forged and understanding deepens. Begin by asking questions as you read. Every sentence, every paragraph, every chapter holds within it a possibility for inquiry. What does this mean? Why is this important? How does it connect to my life or to what I already know? These questions are not interruptions to your reading. They are the very keys that unlock understanding and retention. When you pause to interrogate the text, you are not simply consuming information, you are making it your own. You are inviting the ideas to take root in your mind, to grow and intertwine with your own experiences and knowledge. Reflection is equally vital. After reading, take a moment to close the book and think about what you have absorbed. Summarize it in your own words, consider the implications, and imagine scenarios where this knowledge might be applied. Reflection strengthens the neural pathways that form memory. It turns abstract ideas into living concepts that your mind can call upon when needed. Without reflection, even the most brilliant insights may slip away like water through cupped hands. Connecting new information to what you already know is another powerful tool. Our minds are networks, with each piece of knowledge linked to countless others. By relating new ideas to existing knowledge, you create bridges that make recall effortless. Perhaps a story you read reminds you of a personal experience, or a scientific principle resonates with a historical event you studied. These connections make learning vivid, meaningful, and unforgettable. The more links you create, the stronger your memory becomes, and the more easily you can retrieve information when it is needed. Finally, active engagement requires presence and focus. In a world filled with distractions, reading demands that you give your mind fully to the moment. Treat every book, every passage, every idea with the respect it deserves. When you immerse yourself in the text with intention and attention, your mind naturally retains more, because you are not just reading, you are living the words, breathing their meaning, and carrying them into your life. Remember, the mind that engages actively with what it reads does not forget lightly. Knowledge becomes a companion, guiding your thoughts, decisions, and actions. Through questioning, reflecting, connecting, and focusing, you transform reading from a passive activity into a powerful instrument of memory and wisdom. To engage actively is to honor both the text and your own potential, ensuring that every lesson you encounter is remembered and applied for a lifetime. Our minds are not merely vessels for facts and figures. They are living, breathing instruments attuned to images, stories, and emotions. To remember everything you read, you must awaken the storyteller within yourself and allow your imagination to breathe life into the knowledge you acquire. Facts alone, unadorned and dry, may be forgotten quickly, like footprints in the sand. But when you wrap those facts in stories, pictures, and emotions, they become vivid landmarks. In your mind, impossible to overlook or lose. Imagine reading about a historical event. A mere list of dates and names may slip from memory, but if you visualize the scene, the sights, the sounds, the tension, the courage, you create a memory that resonates. You see the leaders walking through corridors of power, hear the whispers of hope and fear, feel the gravity of the moment. This mental cinema turns abstract information into a vivid experience that your mind clings to naturally. Visualization transforms passive reading into an immersive journey, where knowledge is no longer a collection of words but a living story etched in memory. Storytelling works in much the same way. When you frame what you learn as a narrative, your mind instinctively organizes the information in a meaningful sequence. Stories have a beginning, middle, and end, and they engage the emotional and logical centers of the brain simultaneously. When you read a scientific principle, for example, imagine it as a hero overcoming obstacles, or a concept battling chaos to reveal truth. Each story becomes a bridge linking abstract ideas to tangible experiences, making recall effortless and natural. Analogies, too, are powerful tools. They allow you to connect new knowledge to familiar ideas. When you relate a complex theory to something you already understand, you anchor it to existing memories. These mental hooks act as guideposts, making retrieval of information quicker and more reliable. By transforming knowledge into images, stories, and analogies, you create a rich tapestry of interconnected memories that reinforce one another. Furthermore, storytelling and visualization awaken emotions, and emotion is the glue of memory. The human mind recalls experiences that moved it, that inspired it, or that stirred its curiosity. When you infuse your reading with imagination, you are not merely memorizing. You are feeling, experiencing, and internalizing. The ideas you encounter remain alive within you, ready to guide your thoughts, shape your actions, and enrich your understanding long after the page has been closed. In the journey of learning, visualization and storytelling are not optional. They are essential. They transform knowledge from static words into living experiences, from abstract concepts into vivid, unforgettable moments. To remember everything you read, you must see it, feel it, and live it in your mind. In doing so, you cultivate not only memory, but also creativity, understanding, and wisdom, making every book, every idea, and every lesson a companion on your journey of life. Knowledge is a flame, and like all flames, it grows brighter when shared. To truly remember what you read, to make learning permanent and powerful, you must take the next step beyond personal understanding. You must teach what you have learned. Teaching is not merely an act of giving, it is the highest form of learning. When you explain an idea, articulate a concept, or guide someone else through a lesson, your own mind is forced to clarify, organize, and solidify the knowledge. In that process, what was once fragile memory becomes a foundation of lasting wisdom. Consider this: when you read, ideas enter your mind like seeds scattered in soil. Some take root, while others wither and fade. But when you teach, you water those seeds, nurture them, and encourage them to grow strong. To explain a concept to another human being requires that you fully understand it yourself. You must see it from multiple angles, anticipate questions, and express it in words that others can grasp. In doing so, you reinforce your memory, deepen your comprehension, and make the knowledge inseparable from your own experience. Teaching also engages your emotions and your sense of responsibility. When you share knowledge, you are no longer reading for yourself alone. You are reading for others, for those who may benefit from the wisdom you have gained. This sense of purpose strengthens memory, because the human mind is more likely to retain information that matters, that carries significance beyond personal curiosity. The act of teaching transforms passive information into living, meaningful understanding, cemented in your mind and carried into your actions. Furthermore, teaching sparks creativity and insight. In explaining ideas, you often discover connections, patterns, and applications that you had not noticed before. Questions from others illuminate gaps in your understanding, inviting reflection and refinement. This dynamic process turns knowledge into a living dialogue, rather than a static collection of facts. Every time you teach, you revisit, reinforce, and reimagine what you have learned, making memory stronger, richer, and more versatile. Even if you are not in a classroom or a formal setting, you can teach. Discuss what you have read with a friend, write about it, create videos, or simply explain ideas aloud to yourself. Each act of teaching transforms your mind into a vessel of retention and understanding. Your knowledge becomes active rather than dormant, alive rather than fleeting. In truth, the most enduring way to remember anything you read is to share it with the world. Teaching is not only an act of generosity, it is an act of empowerment, both for yourself and for those who learn from you. It creates a cycle where knowledge grows, memory strengthens, and wisdom spreads. Through teaching, what begins as a personal journey of learning becomes a legacy, a gift that endures, transforms, and inspires. By sharing what you know, you ensure that knowledge is never lost, that lessons are never forgotten, and that the light of understanding shines brightly, both within you and in the hearts of others. Patience and persistence are the twin pillars upon which mastery of memory is built. To remember everything you read, you must first understand that memory is not a sprint, it is a marathon. The mind does not grasp knowledge in a single moment of effort. It grows, deepens, and strengthens through repetition, reflection, and unwavering commitment. Just as a tree does not reach maturity in a day, your memory cannot be perfected overnight. It requires steady care, constant attention, and a willingness to embrace the process, no matter how long it takes. Do not fear forgetting, for forgetting is not failure. It is part of the journey. Every time a memory fades, it provides an opportunity to return, to revisit, to reinforce what has been learned. In this cycle of review and renewal, your understanding becomes more robust, your recall more reliable. Persistence transforms what seems like weakness into strength. For every act of revisiting knowledge strengthens the neural pathways that make memory possible. The most brilliant minds, the great thinkers and leaders of history, did not achieve mastery instantly. They grew through patience, repeatedly confronting challenges, embracing mistakes, and persisting even when results seem slow or uncertain. Patience also teaches you to read deeply, to savor knowledge rather than rush through it. In a world that prizes speed, the art of careful, thoughtful reading is revolutionary. By slowing down, by taking the time to absorb, reflect, and internalize, you give your mind the space it needs to retain information. One carefully read paragraph, fully understood, can be far more valuable than 100 pages skimmed hastily. True mastery comes not from quantity alone, but from quality. The depth of your engagement and the persistence with which you revisit ideas. Persistence requires resilience, the courage to continue even when the mind resists, when distractions tempt you, when progress seems slow. Each act of returning to the page, each effort to recall what has been learned, is a victory of determination. Over time, these small, consistent acts accumulate into mastery. Memory, like character, is built through effort repeated faithfully, not through fleeting bursts of inspiration. Patience and persistence also cultivate confidence. When you accept that mastery is a journey, not a destination, you release the fear of forgetting and replace it with the joy of learning. Every attempt, every review, every moment of reflection becomes part of the larger process of growth. You begin to see forgetting not as failure, but as a natural step toward deeper understanding. Remember, the mind that is patient and persistent will always triumph. Knowledge becomes resilient, memory becomes reliable, and understanding becomes profound. By embracing patience and persistence, you transform reading from a momentary activity into a lifelong practice. You cultivate not just the ability to remember, but the wisdom to use that memory, the strength to persevere, and the humility to understand that mastery is earned step by step, day by day, with unwavering dedication and steadfast resolve.